Previously on the Skip and Josh Sports Show.
Did you see I posted the Carl Schwarber dance video on our website?
I did. By the way, there's some typos on the website.
Don't talk about that here. I know, I have to fix it up.
You're listening to the Skip and Josh Sports Show.
Hey, Cub.
Hey, Skip, how's it going?
Good. I've had so much free time this week. Now that the baseball's over, I feel like, man, God, I have hours every night to do stuff.
I was going to say the same thing. I have so much free time now that I'm not focused on the baseball playoffs.
God, that baseball.
It's like I have a whole, new life almost.
Yeah, but not I do miss it.
What?
I do miss it.
I miss it, but also I do have more free time to relax now. So it's like sort of a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah.
But we still have a bunch of stuff to chat about because we haven't spoken in a week.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing we'll talk about the Habs because they're on such a crazy hot streak. Obviously, they got blown out by Columbus last time we spoke, but meanwhile, they have one loss the whole season, or if you include the overtime loss, they have two losses the entire season. And they have the best record in the entire league, which if you told me in the offseason that the Habs would be in first place overall in the NHL, ahead of Chicago, ahead of Pittsburgh, ahead of all these teams, I never would have believed you. I wouldn't have believed it for a minute.
Not for a minute, especially the way they ended last year. I watched the game last night. They actually really played well and against a good team. So
a good team without their number one goalie, though.
Yes, but I mean, the goalie doesn't change how you play in your own end and how you whether you're controlling the play, right? And they really kind of dominated the game yesterday against the Kings. They were in control the whole game. I wouldn't say dominated, but they were in control. And the way Carey Price is going, it's like if you give him a lead, I mean that game's over. He's like he's like if you have Clayton Kershaw and
Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah, and who the best closer is,
Max Scherzer.
Yeah, exactly. He's like he's so unstoppable right now that he's 9-0, right, on the year, or what is he? I forget his record. He's undefeated, whatever he is.
He is undefeated. The only pushback I'll give you is that the Kings are at the end of a long road trip.
They are.
So they're probably tired and they can't wait to get back, to the West Coast.
And the Habs also caught the Bruins on the second game of a back-to-back for them.
Exactly.
Not for the Habs. So, look, obviously they're not a great, perfect team. They're not the world beaters. They're not the 1977 Canadiens. But the way it went last year, they should bank as many points as they can. Keep banking those points. Keep banking those points. And before you know it, you're putting yourself in a great position for that playoff spot that you need, right?
Because a win is a win, and you need to get those wins any way you can.
Yeah.
Like you said, but it's around this time last year that the Canadiens started to falter.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was because of the injury to Price. So, as long as he's healthy, and it seems like all four lines are clicking. I mean, they had an injury to Lehkonen, and they moved Paul Byron up to one of the top lines.
He looks great.
And he looks great, which, you wouldn't expect that from him.
My son went to the game against the Bruins.
Really? With who?
It's a long story. He went with two other friends, sorry.
Okay.
Was it hard to get tickets? They actually bought tickets. Well, I had to buy them for him on StubHub, literally 2 hours before the game.
There were tickets available.
Yes, there are, and not expensive.
You know what I'm going to tell you about that? I was talking to our Atlanta correspondent.
Oh.
Listen to this. Speaking of tickets, sorry to change the subject a little bit, but I don't know if you know, his son's bar mitzvah is coming up in a few months in the spring.
Yeah.
And so he's taking his whole family
to a Habs game.
To a Canadiens game in Montreal, even though they live in Atlanta. And also they're bringing, relatives and I think his son's three best friends.
Yeah, he told me they're bringing a group, yeah.
So he needed 12 tickets to the same game all together. And I said, you're never going to get 12 tickets all together. You might get, 2 here, 2 there, 4 there, whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, somehow he found someone who knew someone who works for the Canadiens, and he was told in an email that he could get 12 tickets together, but they're all the way up in the nosebleeds.
Right.
So when he called the contact at the Montreal Canadiens, he said, I wonder if you might have, 12 tickets that are, better, lower, closer to the ice. I'm happy to pay for them, whatever. Just wondering if you do. And sure enough, she said, yeah, I got all kinds of tickets and I have 12 together. Where do you want to sit?
I wonder.
So anyway, he ended up getting 12 tickets together in the red section.
Wow, that's going to cost him.
Yeah, it's going to cost him. But the fact is, the point I'm trying to make is whatever sport it is, whatever team it is, whatever city it is, if you go online and it says sold out, it's not really sold out.
I know. The thing is, Matthew's seats were in this like Molson X zone. So whatever, it's just an area where they have very inexpensive seats. And actually there was cheaper ones, but they got sold by the time we made a decision and logged on. I was actually in the process of buying them, and then right when I was putting in my credit card info, I was like, sorry, these tickets are sold. I got a thing, which never happened to me before. But it was amazing. I'm like, a game against the Bruins, and we bought tickets for $40 per person, and literally 2 hours before the game.
So was there no? I need to ask. I know your son is what, 15?
Yeah, no, one friend drove them, and another friend's parent drove them back. They just went by themselves.
Okay.
They're old enough, and he's been to the Bell Center many times. He knows his way around.
Okay. That's funny. The 15-year-old knows his way around the Bell Center.
Yeah. So, I mean, so back to what he told me about the game, he said, Paul Byron's our best player. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, the guy's amazing. He's so fast, and he works so hard, right? So I'm glad he's getting a chance. And now they've got him on the top line, so it's pretty amazing.
Good for him.
He scored again last night. So, and then last night, the big news in Montreal is David Desharnais was benched. Healthy scratch.
This is what I was going to ask you, because I noticed that he was playing on the first or second line last week.
Yeah.
And he's a nice player, but he's not a first or second line guy.
No,
and
the thing is, he's not a third line guy either, because he's like so small, right? So that's been the same story for 5 years with this guy. And I don't know, like last year, Therrien took a lot of heat, and people asked it specifically. Press asked it in the press conference. It was brought up, so it's not like he doesn't know. They used him on the first line. They used him on the power play for 30-something games in a row last year, where he got 0 points, and they kept putting him out there on the power play for 30-something games in a row, and he's getting 0 points. So I mean, Therrien loves his veterans. He loves his veterans, but I mean, at a certain point, I think he felt the pressure. I mean, clearly he was close to being fired last year. No matter what anybody says, that his job is safe. I think he felt the heat, and now he has to do things that are going to be, he has to try to not change things up and not do just going through the motions like he did last year. And if it involves benching Desharnais, then that's what it is.
I mean, the interesting thing is the team is winning with Desharnais in the lineup. So one could argue, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
I know, but Price covers up all the warts. Right?
He does.
So.
The Skip and Josh Sports Show is back.
I have a few things I want to chat, somewhat related to the Habs, but has nothing to do with their play on the ice.
Sure.
So I'm changing the subject a bit, but just a few things I wrote down I wanted to mention. First of all, when you watch a Habs game at the Bell Center and they score and they play the goal song, the Habs have the worst goal song in the league.
They had a lot of pressure to put this French-Canadian song, so that's.
But it's just a terrible song. Like you want at least a good song. For example, the Chicago Blackhawks, when they score, they play Chelsea Dagger, which for anyone out there listening who's never heard the song Chelsea Dagger, Google it and listen to it. I think you'll love it instantly. It's a great song. Very frustrating. The other thing at the Bell Center I noticed, I was watching, I think it was the Saturday game against, I forget who they played on Saturday, but they won the game. They had a 2-goal lead with about 6.5 minutes left in the third, and the fans start singing Ole, Ole, Ole.
That's the stupid Habs fans. It's always like that. It's been like that since we were kids. They didn't sing Ole, Ole. Remember, it used to be when we were 12 years old. It was na na na, hey, goodbye, right? Like that's the Montreal people.
With a 2-goal lead and 6.5 minutes left, so much can happen.
Of course.
Don't wait. You wait till there's less than a minute if you want to start singing that song.
That's been going on forever, and it annoys me every time. But I'm like immune to it now.
Anyhow, one thing we didn't mention, this happened, obviously 11 or 12 days ago, but the winner of the Molson Cup for the month of October was Shea Weber.
Yeah. And he said, thank God Carey Price didn't play at the beginning of the season when he accepted the award.
So anyway, so that's just funny.
Well, look, Weber's making his case for Norris. I
Right,
mean,
right.
if the Habs, I'll tell you right now, if the Habs are in first or second or near the top of the standings at the end of the year, and Weber keeps going like this, he's the Norris winner. Like
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's
the
not like he's
Montreal
never won a
media
Norris
has
Trophy
a lot
before.
of influence. That they can get someone an award. As we've seen with Jose Theodore, and even when Subban won the Norris.
You would think, a guy playing in Nashville, no one knows about him. So playing in a city like Montreal or New York or Chicago or LA,
Yeah.
where people do know about you, I should include Toronto in there. Then he's got even higher profile, obviously.
Right.
So I wanted to also talk about the rookie scoring race this year because I'm fascinated that there's all these rookies who are lighting up the net.
It's really like kind of amazing time for the NHL. It started actually with the World Cup of Hockey with that Team North America. And
Yeah.
not only that, I mean, like, just all the young talent on display, right? I mean, it's really fantastic.
If you look at the rookie scoring leaders, just the top six. I mean,
Yeah.
we can go even further. But
Yeah.
and I'm talking about points.
Yeah.
Like these are all household names already. Patrick Laine, William Nylander, Austin Matthews.
Yeah.
A guy on the Columbus Blue Jackets who I've never heard of, Zach Werenski. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name
I
right.
don't know either.
But then there's Jimmy Vesey on the Rangers, who I
Yeah.
think was a Hobie Baker winner, and
He
Mitch
was.
Marner, of course, on the Leafs. So of the top six, three of them are on Toronto.
And then you're not even putting into this equation because they're not rookies, but like a guy like Connor McDavid who's like taking the league by storm.
Right, and he
as
didn't even
second
play
year.
a full year last year.
Right,
So
right. And then those other good rookies from last year, like Max Domi and Anthony Duclair. Like there's a lot of great young talent in the NHL right now.
yeah, it's pretty amazing. So now that baseball's over, I haven't really been able to get into hockey, but now that
It's going to
baseball's
start
over,
now. It's going to start. Yeah.
I'm going to get into it. Of course, the weather's getting colder, and that helps. And
Freezing here today and yesterday. Oh my God.
actually, it was very nice here yesterday. Yeah, so it looks like it's gonna be an exciting season.
It's amazing because Matthews got so much press at the beginning of the year. It's all you hear about. I mean, look, you know as well as I do that like the sports media in this country is so Toronto centric. So there's so much emphasis on Austin Matthews all the time. And actually, my father-in-law pointed out to me when the Habs played the Leafs, he was like, forget about Austin Matthews. He goes, Nylander is way better. So,
And meanwhile, the Leafs are only 500.
yeah, well, look,
They play a really great game, and then they get blown up by the Kings 7-0.
they're still rookies, right?
That's true.
They're still rookies.
Yeah.
So you can say all you want about rookies and rookies and rookies, but I mean, at the beginning of the year, everyone was ready to anoint Connor McDavid as like literally the best player in the league. And people are like, oh, yeah, well, there's this guy, Sidney Crosby, who has 11 points in 8 games now, right? Because he was injured. He's a complete player. And he is the best or one of the best offensive players in the league is Crosby. And he's also a complete player. And the young players like McDavid and, all the rookies that we just talked about, these guys there's a learning curve, right? You don't just step into the NHL and get ready and dominate, at both ends of the ice. And look at the Oilers with all their draft picks that they had. They couldn't win any games even with all those guys. You have to learn how to play the right way.
You know what I just noticed? In the top 20 scorers, and this is not just rookies, this is all players. The top 20 scorers, Montreal only has one.
Yeah, because very balanced, the Habs. Very balanced.
And I would never guess, like if I didn't look at it, I would never guess that it's Galchenyuk.
Well, he's gonna. I don't know if he kind of went under the radar last year. He had a torrid finish to the season, right? He ended with 30 goals and he dominated. He was just on fire in the second half of the year, and he's finally the number one center now, right? He's the number one center on the top offensive line. He's getting the power play minutes. He's finally getting like the offensive ice time that he deserves, and he's going to put up a lot of points.
Up until this season, or maybe halfway through last season, he wasn't even playing center. He was playing on the wing.
I think to be honest, I think he still might be better as a wing. And if I said that to a lot of people in Montreal, they would kill me because everyone just wants to be this guy to play center. But when you watch his game, he has this this shot from the right hand side, left-handed shot from the right hand side that like a winger has, right? Like that's his biggest strength is that one timer, that he can let loose from the slot, which is more of a wing situation. But he's playing with Radulov right now, so they're having fun.
He's not that big. I mean,
No,
he's
but he's not.
6'1".
But he's not small, right? He can hold his own. You want to
Wanna
talk about the election?
You know what? We could talk about the election for hours. I'm not the most qualified person to talk about it.
No, I don't want to talk about it at all. I think that everybody talked enough about the election, and I think a show
They're
like
all
this,
talked out.
a show like this, should be a distraction from all that stuff. So
Agreed.
yeah.
Hi there, Skip and Josh will be right back. To get in touch with them, you can send them an email to skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. You can follow them on Twitter @skipandjosh, and you can visit their website at www.skipandjosh.com. And now, back to the show.
So let's talk about fantasy football.
Oh boy, my
Something-
team's on life support, hanging in.
Well, why don't you recap your last week's game?
I had a huge week. I came back because of great performances by the Raiders that I had. Crabtree, Latavius Murray. It all happened on like that night game that they were in, and I came from behind to win because Latavius Murray just had a huge game. So I'm hanging in, but I'm facing Mark this week, who's undefeated, and he just beat you, right? So
Yes.
By
the way, you should thank me because I actually drafted Crabtree and dropped him,
I know.
and you snapped him up, and ever since he's been on fire.
The Raiders have a very strong offense. They have a good passing game. Carr's a good quarterback. He has two good receivers in Crabtree and Amari Cooper. The Raiders are shaping up to be an interesting team. I don't know if how much of a factor they're gonna be this year, but after so many years, right? I mean, finally they're going in the right direction. There's so many Raider fans out there, and finally they're kind of going in the right direction.
I mean, they beat Denver. Denver's no slouch, so that to me sounds like they're a real team, that they're a legitimate
Yeah, I mean,
contender.
look, Denver still has no quarterback. They don't have much offense, but they have a great defense, and they find ways to win games.
And by the way, how ironic would it be that the Raiders are having this great season, and it could be their last season in Oakland?
I know. The NFL's crazy.
I don't really understand why teams like the Raiders and the Chargers.
Why they have to move.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, I would think San Diego is a great place to live. It's a great
greed.
place to
It's
play.
the owner's greed. That's all.
I get it. The stadium in Oakland sucks. I mean, the Oakland Athletics want to leave there too. I get that.
Yeah,
But the stadium in San Diego, I mean, I've never been there, but on television it looks beautiful.
it does.
What do I know?
Yeah. But, I mean, it's their greed. Like, look, NFL owners could literally do nothing. Nothing. Actually, the stadiums could literally be empty. Zero. They could be closed. And the team would still make money.
Because of the television deal.
Yeah. They don't have to have any attendance to make money, the NFL.
Yeah,
But
the people
every
who come
fan
to the
that
game and
comes,
buy the tickets and buy
yeah.
the hot dogs and
Yeah.
buy the souvenirs.
That's all gravy for the owners.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they want to get cities to pay for the stadium for them. Why not?
So to recap my game, as you said, I played Mark, who's undefeated, and
Yeah.
so he's still undefeated. He destroyed me 116 to 75.
he
In
has
fairness,
he has a projection
I had
over me
4 of
too.
my starters on a bye week. He also had 4 of his starters on a bye week. So I wasn't really expecting to win that game. You and I are now tied for, I don't know, 6th place or something like that.
We're in desperation time.
Yeah, it's there's me and you and another team. We're all tied for 5th place,
Yeah.
and only the top 4 make the playoffs. So
It's not out of reach. You just need to go on a streak. If I can somehow, it's funny because you ever look at the ESPN White Up, they give you the line. So Mark's favored by 28 over me.
which is about right.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, those predictions are so it's done by a computer. It
I
doesn't
know,
factor
it's
in like
all,
things like, oh, is a guy injured? Is he playing hurt? Whatever.
Yeah. What did I do in the pigskin pick'em?
In the
Against the
pigskin
spread.
pick'em. So the bad news is we both got yesterday's game wrong.
Oh, there was a game yesterday.
The Thursday game.
God, Baltimore, Cleveland. The NFL is literally insulting all of the American people. After that election, the American people needed a good Thursday night game to distract them from everything going on in their lives that they're disappointed about. And what does the NFL do? They give them Cleveland versus Baltimore.
You know that they had no idea when they made the schedule what was going to happen in the election.
Of course, I
know
know.
that.
I'm just joking.
Um,
I
but
didn't look.
we
Did you
both got
watch
that
the game
game
at all?
wrong.
I didn't. I usually like to tune in. I didn't see 1 second of it, but I usually tune in for 1 second just to see the uniforms because
I
the
did.
Thursday is the color rush situation.
Yes, and I did tune in for a minute, just not to look at the uniforms. I
Yeah.
happened to be flipping around when I got home from hockey.
Yeah.
And they did something a little different because one of the teams was wearing all white, which they don't normally do.
Oh.
But that's because Baltimore's uniform and Cleveland's uniform is very similar in color.
I guess. But I
And
thought
so
one
that's
would wear
why-
purple and one would wear orange.
Well, one
I
wore
guess not.
one wore brown. The Browns wore brown.
Oh,
I think.
brown. And
Or no, the
Baltimore
Browns wore all white. Sorry,
Yeah.
and Baltimore wore brown. I think.
Oh, it's so weird.
Any case, so yeah, I did see the uniforms, but we both got the game wrong. Baltimore was favored by 10.5.
I
said,
saw
look,
the
they're
spread
gonna win
and I
the
was
game.
like, I'm just hoping Cleveland's going to cover.
Yeah, they're going to win the game, obviously,
Yeah.
but I don't think they're going to win by 10.5 because Baltimore hasn't exactly been world beaters this season.
No, and
So-
Cleveland's hung in there on many games.
Yeah, they've played close. They played close games.
I don't know. Anytime you're getting 10 points, it's hard to turn that down. But like, what is what's was the spread in the San Francisco Arizona? Arizona's favored also by like 12 or 14.
Let me see if I can find that out for you, while we're chatting.
And so in our pigskin pick'em, I took San Francisco, just thinking like, okay, if they can hang in with 2 touchdowns, maybe they can do it.
Yeah, the Cardinals are favored by 13.5.
That's a lot of points.
And yeah, I'm picking San Francisco to cover.
Yeah, me too. They've been putting up points lately. San Francisco. Kaepernick, I mean, as bad as he is, he's still able to move the ball a little bit down the field. So
Speaking of the Cardinals, I picked up Carson Palmer because my quarterback's on a bye this week.
that's it's a bad pick, but against the 49ers, it should be good because he's.
I mean, listen, I need a quarterback for 1 week. He's the best available in the pile.
They
so
could
I'm
score
taking-
40 points. The 49ers are brutal.
You never know.
Yeah. There's one great game this week that everybody's going to be watching.
Yes, New England, Seattle.
Yeah, New England, Seattle. Did you see Bill Belichick's press conference?
Yeah, all he said was Seattle. You ask him any question, he just said Seattle.
Well, they were asking him about Trump, so he didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone goes to any press conference that Bill Belichick holds because he never says anything.
It's
He
so
never
s-
answers any
He
question.
doesn't want to be there, obviously. And he
But
just-
that's part of the job description as a head coach in a professional sport.
Yeah.
You don't only have to coach your team, you need to answer questions.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, okay, give up your secrets and tell us what strategy you're going to use to beat the next team you're playing, but just answer the questions. He doesn't have to be such a jerk.
It's so true. He doesn't have to be such a
He
jerk.
is the biggest jerk. Actually, between him and Tiger Woods, I'm not sure. I think Tiger Woods is a bigger jerk slightly, but those two people, I cannot stand either of them.
I'll tell you, speaking of who we can't stand, and we're talking about that game, the person that I can't stand most in the NFL is Pete Carroll. And you're going to say, oh, he's not such a jerk. Okay, he's always so happy on the sidelines, and he seems like the players love him and everything. I can't tell you how much I hate the Seattle Seahawks, and I can't tell you how much I hate that guy. When they lost the Super Bowl on that last play, when Wilson threw the interception and everyone's like, why didn't they run with Marshawn Lynch? That was just like the cherry on top of the sundae. I was like, I'm so happy they lost, and what a way to lose, because Pete Carroll is so arrogant. He thinks he knows more than anybody else that they decided, no, we're not going to run. We're going to make it complicated. Just can't stand him. And his whole team, I mean, you saw the play with Richard Sherman and running into the kicker on Buffalo. I mean, that's so dirty. It was so dirty. Oh my God, it was so dirty.
It was, but that's not Pete Carroll's fault.
No, that's not Pete
the
Carroll's
referee's
fault. But that's the way that team plays. That team, why I don't like the whole team, is look, everybody will tell you that there's penalties on every play in every NFL game, right? But the way their defensive backs play is there is pass interference and holding on every single snap. And they are daring the referees to call it.
It's like the Detroit Pistons in the 80s.
In a way. But they are daring them to call it, and they know they're not going to call it on every single play, because then, like, they literally, it's like human nature. They're not going to call a penalty on every play. And the game is going to look brutal if they do. So they take liberties on every snap, and they get away with half of them, more than half of them. Yeah, I just don't like that guy. I don't like that he has the same last name as me, and
By the way, you don't look anything like him. If that's any
no, well,
consolation.
maybe if I grew my hair and got those dreadlocks or something, I don't know.
So, by the way, this week in fantasy, I'm already up 16-0 because of the Thursday game.
Beautiful.
I had two guys in the game. I was hoping to be up 20-0 at this point.
Oh.
And of course, pretty much every game here on out is a must win if I hope to make the playoffs. Same with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said you're playing Mark, and right now your game's tied at 0, so I have to wait and see situation.
Yeah. There's another good game this weekend, which is Pittsburgh Dallas. Could be good.
It could be good, and Dallas is so hot and Pittsburgh is so cold, and I don't think Roethlisberger's 100%, even though he came back last week.
He's not for sure.
I would have liked to have seen that same game with Roethlisberger healthy.
Yeah.
But my money's on Dallas to win that game.
Dallas is a tough team because everyone's like, oh, rookie quarterback, rookie this, rookie that, whatever. But in the NFL, the game is won on the line, right? If your offensive line can give your quarterback time, and if your offensive line can push the defensive line to give your running back room, you will win. They're the lowest paid players, the offensive line, and literally they're the most important to your team, right?
It's true. Everything goes through there.
Everything goes through there. Your quarterback doesn't have time. Doesn't matter how good he is. He's not going to complete passes, right?
And there are teams who have just used any old running back. They've had a great offensive line. They've used any old running back, and that running back's had a great season because of the offensive line.
Look, I think Ezekiel Elliott is great. He looks like the real deal. He's a combination power, speed, difficult to bring down. He runs his, he knows where to run, but that line is giving him space,
The Monday night game looks awful, by the way. Giants and Bengals.
Oh, Bengals. That's the only dirtier team than Seattle.
Never mind. You were saying how the primetime games have been terrible. The Thursday night.
Well, this week you have Seattle, New England, so
that one's good. But the other problem with the Thursday night games and the Monday night games, not only are they bad teams, but the game starts so late and it ends so late. Yeah. Even if you wanted to watch the game, even if you wanted to stay up, by the time it ends, you're half asleep on the couch or you're in bed.
Well, look, no one's watching Cleveland-Baltimore anyways, but honestly, the Thursday night game should go away. Oh, you talked about it. It should just go away. The players don't want it. The players hate it because it makes them have a short week, after, and they don't like it. But the NFL thinks they're gonna, get it some ratings. I mean, no one's watching. I don't think anyone's watching. I don't know what the ratings are for last night. We can fact check that for next episode, but
I need to ask you a question about last night's game.
Sure.
So, we in Canada get the game on Sportsnet.
Yeah.
As do you in Montreal as well, I think.
Yeah.
But correct me if I'm wrong. It's also on the NFL Network.
It is, yeah.
Although it's blacked out on the NFL Network in Canada.
Yeah, but it's a CBS game.
But it's a CBS game, right?
Yeah.
So yesterday, I turn it on, again, just for a minute, and I'm watching on Sportsnet, and I see the logo next to the score of the game, and the logo is an NBC logo. So then I go to NBC to see if it's on there also, and it's not. And then I go to CBS to see if it's on there also, and it's not. So I didn't understand that. Plus, the play-by-play guys, I think, were the NBC play-by-play guys, the same guys that do Sunday Night Football.
Honestly, I lost track of what channel games are on.
But no, you're right. It's supposed to be on CBS on Thursday night.
It is.
So I don't quite get that.
Me neither.
Anyway.
No clue. Couldn't tell you. I'm going to look into that. We're going to fact check that for next time too.
All right. We have a lot of fact checking to do. In fact, let's talk about something we mentioned.
We'll hire a fact checker.
Do we have a budget for that?
We'll find the money.
The Skip and Josh Sports Show. They don't take your calls.
Last episode, you mentioned something called a double broken window, and we didn't explain it. So I'm going to explain it now for the listeners.
Oh, okay.
Well, what happened was there was a wild pitch, and I believe 2 runners scored on the same wild pitch, if I'm not mistaken.
This is true.
And you called it a double broken window.
Yes.
So,
I even named the episode that.
Yes. So what it is way back when the Expos had a team, and I was, I think I was a student at the time, and obviously we were both students at the time. I had a summer job washing windows at people's houses. And so every morning my boss would come to pick me up, and we'd drive to whatever house we were going to clean windows that day. And we would chat because it was summertime. We would chat about the Expos game from the night before because we were him and I and the other guys on the crew. We were all Expos fans. So one morning we're in the car, we're chatting, and the night before I think the Expos had lost on a wild pitch, and so we're all so frustrated because they lost the game. And I said something. I said, "Yeah, but how often is there a wild pitch? And how often is there a wild pitch that costs you the game? It's about as rare as us breaking a window."
I never heard this story before.
It's literally it's about as rare as us breaking a window because we never broke windows. I think we might have broken one window per summer out of all the houses and all the windows we did. That's a pretty good record. So from then on, a wild pitch, I refer to it as a broken window because it's so rare. So that's why you called it a double broken window when we were talking about last week's game.
I swear I've never heard that story before, but I just sort of innately knew what the broken window meant anytime there was a wild pitch or pass ball. So
There you go.
That's pretty cool.
You're listening to Skip and Josh Sports Show.
I do want to talk about the Duke Blue Devils basketball team.
Oh my God, they're opening up against Marist tonight.
It's a season opener for Duke, and what bugs me, I know this isn't the What Bugs Me segment, but what bugs me is that Duke is the preseason #1 team, and so there's always a lot of pressure on the #1 team, and then God forbid they're going to lose a game or two or three because they never go undefeated, and then by halfway through the season, people are going to say, "Oh, Duke was ranked so highly at the beginning of the year, but they're not as good as everyone thought." And to be honest, these rankings are just people's opinions. They haven't even played a game yet.
No, of course.
So I don't know how anyone can say, "Oh, this team's better than that team," or "that team's better than this team." I mean, obviously, Duke has 3 of the top 10 high school players on the roster. Plus, they have Grayson Allen coming back. So you expect Duke every year to have a good season. There's no question about it.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, basketball, the nature of basketball's changed. It's one and done time now, right? So basically whoever your big high school recruits are is going to boost you to the top of the rankings. So the fact that Duke actually has returning players, I think Duke would be still a really good team. Forget about all those the freshman class. Just Grayson Allen, Kennard, Jefferson, and Matt Jones. That is 4 really good players, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Those are 4 really good veterans, and Kennard he was thrust into a much bigger role last year because they didn't have anyone else, and I think his role is going to be diminished this year by quite a bit. And I have a feeling Matt Jones is also going to not play as much in crunch time because of all the great the high school recruits that they have. So
you're absolutely right. I mean, they had a good team last year. Let's not forget that. And as you said, they have I think 4 seniors returning. I mean, one of them, Nick Pagluka.
Yeah, he never sees the light.
Yeah, he never sees the floor. But I mean, they have 3 starting seniors returning, and not many teams can say that.
No, but are you counting Allen? He's not a senior.
Oh, you're right. He's a junior.
He's a junior.
So okay.
Yeah.
So
when he came to Duke, he said right from the beginning, "I'm staying for 4 years," and I was like, "No way, come on!" And no one knew. Remember, no one knew who this guy was that first year when he made that dive against Wisconsin in the Final Four, right? Like
because in his first year, he only started playing basically in the tournament. I mean, he was playing here and there.
Yeah.
But it was because of some injuries and some foul trouble.
But I remember watching that guy all year. Anytime he was on the floor, he was dynamite. So I remember telling you, they got to use him more. They got to use him more. He gave them such a boost of energy every time he came in. And then, of course, last year he just had a phenomenal season. And this year he's one of the front runners for the Player of the Year of all of college. So
I'll say this about Grayson Allen, not to interrupt you. He's a very good player, and yes, he could be Player of the Year. But there were a couple of plays last year where he made very dirty plays against 2 different teams.
Yeah.
And he got a lot of heat for it. And actually, he got off pretty lucky because I don't think he was even suspended. He got like a slap on the wrist, literally.
He needs to know better. He needs
from the
to do
ACC.
Better. Yeah.
And, yes, I'm a Duke fan, and obviously I love all the Duke players. But if one of our players, I'm saying I'm not even on the team, if one of the Duke players does something that I don't like, I'm gonna call them out on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, he needs to know better. Duke's always under such a microscope. He can't afford to do stupid things like that,
and he's a year older now. We'll see if he's matured at all.
Yeah. I follow him on Instagram.
Does he tweet a lot? Oh, sorry. Does he?
Yeah,
Does he
they post a lot of stuff, and I also follow like Duke men's college basketball on Twitter and Instagram. They post all kinds of pictures. So there was a lot of fun stuff in the off season. You could tell him and Jefferson are really good friends. And also Chase Jeter seems to be part of their little crew, and I have a feeling he's gonna have like a. I mean, it's too bad that they have a bunch of big men now. Like they have 3 new guys from high school that are all 6'10", 6'11". You know, they're bigger guys. So I don't know how much time Chase Jeter's gonna get, but he seems to be part of their little inner circle.
What I'm interested to see, we don't get many college basketball games in Canada.
Not
You
so
know,
much.
you basically get what CBS wants to show you on the weekend, and you also get what TSN wants to show you on the weekend. And it's very hard to get Duke games. It's just a fact, unfortunately. So I don't even know when is the first Duke game I'm going to get to watch on television. So we'll have to wait and see for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. You know, that game against Marist was supposed to be against Albany,
It was?
but Albany refused to play because of that North Carolina
Oh.
bathroom law.
Right.
So they scheduled against Marist.
Oh,
I just thought that was interesting. I read about that.
it is
this morning.
interesting. I'm surprised they were able to change it on such short notice.
Well, I mean, it's been a little while, but originally it was supposed to be, you know.
So Duke, as you know, the ACC schedule doesn't really start in earnest until late December, early January.
Yeah.
And so the first half of the season is playing all these non-conference games. And a lot of them are, you know, Marist and Grand Canyon and William and Mary and Appalachian State.
It's like a preseason, but
Right.
there's a game against Kansas in there.
I was just going to say our third game, or Duke's third game, is against Kansas, and that's going to be a tough test.
I'm sure we'll get that one on TV.
I hope so. I mean, it's on ESPN in the States. It's
Yeah.
on a Tuesday night. So
Good news is that TSN doesn't have hockey anymore, so
that is the best thing about TSN.
they need
losing
to
hockey
fill 5 channels. So a
is
lot
that
of time.
they now show some college basketball some
Yeah.
nights.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
And Appalachian State, I work with a guy that went there, so
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's interesting.
You're kidding me? Boy, are you bugging me, man? I'm gonna nail. Ooh, God. I'm getting bugged now. Whoa, man.
Okay, so here's what bugs me. You're watching a game, and it's the end of the period, or in football, it's halftime, or in basketball, it's halftime. And as the players are leaving the floor, or the court, or the field, or whatever it is, or the ice, you have this like 60-second interview with one of the guys. Sometimes it's a player, sometimes it's a coach.
Yeah.
I hate these interviews because they ask the same questions every time. Oh, you're down by 7 going into the half. What do you need to do? Or you're down by a goal going into the third period. What do you need to do? Obviously, we need to score more goals. The questions are insane, or asinine, I should say.
Look, you know
And
already.
the answers, I could tell you what the answer is going
Well,
to be.
you know already.
even before
Every-
the question is asked.
Interviews with professional athletes are all like that anyways. So even if you have like a sit down interview, like that's why like Tony Kornheiser refuses to have athletes as guests on his
Agreed.
show, right? Because he knows he doesn't want to hear like we're going to give 110%. We're looking at the game plan. We're going to go out there and try. We're going to it's all
Or
it's
I couldn't
all
rule
like
out my
nothing.
teammates.
Yeah, like it's all like innocuous vanilla stuff, right? So what are they supposed to say when they're coming off the floor, or a coach when they interview the coach coming off at halftime? That's the best. Yeah, we gotta really get in there. Like what is he gonna say? We're losing, you know, we're winning, we're losing. They have nothing to say.
This is the only reason that I actually like Greg Popovich, because he hates doing those.
Yeah, so you never know what
always-
he's gonna say.
He always gives like short one-word answers because you see that he doesn't want to be there, and he does it only because he knows he has to do it or else he's going to get fined by the NBA.
Yeah.
But he's actually right. Like, there's no point. You don't learn anything more from those interviews. It doesn't add anything to the game for me as a viewer.
Yeah, I think
So I don't know why they do it.
it goes back to like what I told you the other day. The state of announcing, the state of the broadcasts right now, announcers, the whole broadcast, everything we see, it's really kind of in decline right now on all the networks. I think they don't know what to do. They all kind of copy each other. No one really knows like how to spice it up, or if they need to. You know, maybe they don't need to spice it up. What was wrong with like not having a sideline reporter? What was wrong with just having like good people in the booth, right, talking about the game? I don't know. I have nothing more to say about it.
Anyway,
Just gets me upset. I guess it does
Okay.
bug me.
there you go.
I don't keep a list like you.
No, I keep a list because we have to do this show, and so
I
I never
know.
know when you're going to spring a what bugs me on me.
I'm gonna spring one.
You're gonna spring a what bugs you on me, so I need to be ready.
So, one thing that I have on my list, because I do have a list also, but not a what bugs me list.
Yeah.
Heard a song in the car the other day,
Yeah.
"High and Dry" by Radiohead.
Oh, I haven't heard that in
And I
ages.
haven't heard it for so long. I mean, to be honest, I don't listen to the radio very much. And when my kids are in the car with me, they don't want to listen to like rock. They want to listen to,
Taylor
top
Swift.
40, whatever, what's on the radio, the pop music. And I just happened to put it on Shom, and High and Dry was playing, and I was like, oh my God, what an amazing song. So
It reminds
good,
me of
so
University.
good. It does. So good, so good. And then it just, like, I came home, and then I put on the band's album, and I listened to it all, so just, I know you're the one that got me into Radiohead way back when. I just love that album, The Bends. And I always, whenever I listen to it, whenever I hear a song or whatever, listen to it, I'm like, it's such a great album. And then they came out with OK Computer after, and everybody thinks that's Radiohead's like #1 album. That was their masterpiece, right? But for me, it's always The Bends. That, to me, that's the best.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. The Benz is for me. The Benz is much better album, and that's what happens when a band has a good album and they get popular. It's the next album that everyone buys.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows about them, but really they were probably better before you knew about them.
That's right. All right, I have nothing else.
All right, well,
I'm going to New Orleans tomorrow, so I'll say hi to Drew Brees for you when I see him.
Oh, great! Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I'm gonna try to go see might try to get to a New Orleans Pelicans game, a basketball game.
How long are you gonna be there for?
Like 5 days.
Oh, it's long. Okay.
So if I can, I always say I'm going to go to a basketball game whenever I go to these places, or I'm going to go to a sporting event, then I never have the time, or I never have anyone to go with. I don't really want to go alone.
Right.
Sometimes my coworkers don't want to go. But they're playing the Celtics. I don't know if it's...
Oh, you should definitely go.
I don't know if it's
Celtics.
tomorrow night or Sunday night. I looked at the schedule briefly, and I know the Celtics are in town, so I'm going to try.
You should totally go. By the way, if it says sold out, it's not sold out.
No, especially there. I don't think the games are sold out.
The Skip and Josh Sports Show is over now. Don't worry, there'll be another episode soon.